Welcome to the SciFi Pubcast. Come for a drink, but stay for speculation. We're catching up on new and forthcoming content. And yes, it's all Joel's fault. Wait, that's me. So grab a drink. We recommend something from the Star Trek Spirits collection. This is the SciFi Pubcast. Greetings, welcome to the SciFi Pubcast. The podcast tries to be a pub, and perhaps someday a pub that tries to be a podcast. And as always, we are looking for customers to come visit our bar. So if you're passionate about something, want to be on a podcast, well, please let us know, because this bar is all about community. And if you want to help us out, please consider leaving a 5-star review wherever you find the show. I'm Joel, I'm the owner of the SciFi Pubcast, so to speak. And today at the bar, we have our regular dedicated staff members. Notice I didn't say cast members. Yes, I'm learning. Our staff members.
We're not Disney employees.
Carrie Simpson and Derek Beatty.
I also noticed you making air quotes when you said dedicated.
Yes, of course. Yes. So it's been a while, guys.
Well, we haven't been committed yet, so yeah.
Not yet. At least not in this universe. Maybe in a different universe. I'm probably half a dozen times at least. But yes, we're back. Somewhat speaking, I have been very, very busy working on my PhD in law. I've lost more hair on my top of my head. If you've seen a picture of me recently in like the last 15 years, but I'm doing well. I'm still surviving, I think. And I get to start my dissertation writing as of next month. Yay! I'll be in full dissertation mode. And I'm using science fiction to examine issues emerging from space law and technology law. So I'm quite excited about that. And also I'm brain dead. But besides that, yeah, that's what I've been doing. So the SciFi Pubcast.
Never saw him again.
Exactly. The SciFi Pubcast is going to be sporadic. That's on me. It's all my fault. Help me out here, Taylor Swift. It's me.
It's me. Hi, I'm the problem. It's me.
It's me. Hi, I'm the problem. It's me. There you go. I've said the words.
Okay. You're young and hip.
To be young and hip. I'm just hip. At least I have 2 hips still. That's something. Anyway, which way? Let's start with Carrie. Carrie, it's been like 2 months, 3 months, something like that. How have you been?
4 months.
4 months. And what's happening in Southern California? Tell us everything.
Well, it's been raining most of the weekend. It actually stopped. The sun's actually out at the moment, which is odd. Well, which is normal for California, but odd considering it's been raining all weekend. Otherwise, things are good. Nothing to complain about here.
Excellent. And you've been good?
Yeah, I've been good. I've been, working buried under paperwork, watching a lot of TV and playing a lot of Star Wars: The Old Republic. So normal stuff. Oh, and throwing people around the room. So
yeah.
I know my normal routine.
Yeah, I've done something really silly. At my advanced age, I decided to go back to fencing with swords. So I'm actually fencing varsity for Western University, which is the university I'm at in London, Ontario, Canada. So I'm turning 49 in next month, and I'm fencing 20-year-olds. And fencing's all skill-based and quickness and all that. And I'm having a lot of fun, but I'm not as good as I used to be. I can tell you that.
But you're returning to something that you like doing, and you're practicing. That's the important part.
Yeah, and since it's almost next to impossible to get into the gym when there's undergraduate students on campus because it's so busy, this way it forces me to go to practices and tournaments. So trying to not die in many different ways. Not just a metaphorical.
Are you better
way.
at offensing or defensing?
I'm on the fence on that one. Oh, God.
Oh, God.
But I'm sober. Great.
What did I get myself into?
And Derek, man, how have you been, and what's happening in the hills of Pennsylvania?
Well, in the hills of Pennsylvania, we're currently having an all-day snow shower, but it's not really accumulating on the ground, so it's not that bad.
Okay.
And I think in the 4 long months since we recorded, I think the only remotely interesting thing that's happened to me is that I did finally get back to Universal Studios Florida, and I had a great time there. I got to see Harry Potter again. And I didn't get COVID this time, so that's awesome.
Hey, that's wonderful.
it has been 4 months. I forgot. I finally went to Star Trek Las Vegas
Oh, did you? Okay, good.
back in August. I
Ah,
did. It was fun. We there was a podcast a party for patrons of the Mission Log podcast.
Yeah.
I got to do a wine tasting for Star Trek wines, which was fabulous and has broken my bank account and my credit cards.
Oh yeah.
By the way, Star Trek Spirits has now started up, and I can tell you from personal experience that the bottles for the Romulan vodka and the Romulan rye are gorgeous, and also hurting my pocketbook right now.
There you go. So
Was this a convention you're talking about?
Yes, Star Trek. It's no longer officially Star Trek Las Vegas. It's the Creation con that happens every year in Las Vegas. It used to be referred to as Star Trek Las Vegas, but now it's like the 50 whatever number year mission it is for Star Trek now. I think next year is going to be the 57-year mission.
I'm just checking the shop. So CBS has a Star Trek Star Trek shop online that is available in Canada, but I'm not seeing any in the Spirits. Perhaps.
It's a separate company.
Okay.
It's a separate company. StarTrekSpirits.com.
Okay.
Like I said before we recorded, I don't know if they ship to Canada.
Yeah, shipping booze is just so strange over an international border. Doesn't make sense to me. It's so 1920s, but that's just me. That's why I have a pub. Yeah, there we go.
That's why we have a pub.
Anyway, I'm still attending bar, by the way, at that grad club. That keeps me young. Yeah. But yeah, there you go. So there's also an update on Randall Graham, our friend and sometimes co-host, Dr. Randall Graham, professor of law at Western University, also known as my PhD supervisor. He sends his regrets. He's unavailable to make it because this is the busy time. He's setting exams, marking papers, that type of stuff. Plus, I think he took the weekend off to go to Toronto with his lovely wife. So he deserves that. But I know
it's December, so he's dressing as an elf and posing on shelves and stuff.
He's such a silly guy. I love him, and I do love him. And
Speaking of Randall,
yeah.
I finally got around to reading the third Before Life book, Nether Regions. I'm currently 3/4 of the way through it. It's very funny, and I think I would say that it's my favorite of the three so far.
So you're really liking Randall's Nether Regions?
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
Very pleasing guy.
It's a good thing this isn't a family show.
Oh, definitely not. Yes, because it's a bar and anything can happen in the bar because, it's rough and
and what
tough.
are minors doing in the bar anyway?
Get out. Come back when you're of age in your jurisdiction. How's that? Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, it's been a while. The last show was the very end of August, right before I started back up in earnest in my PhD in September. So there's that. Again, it's on me. I'm sorry. But it's great to get back together, and we'll do more shows when we can. Probably, hopefully, another one or two before another term starts. And my future will be less busy in a sense because it's going to be less formalized if I don't have to do any more coursework. So let's just say that I may be able to squeeze more shows in. There's that. But what's been happening in the world of science fiction and pop culture? A lot of things have happened, and we didn't talk about it. And there's some few things coming down the pipe, which is going to be really, really cool. So this episode is just going to be a catch-up episode, and our thoughts, our emotional outlook on certain franchises and content that has been released. So there's that. Where do you want to start, guys? What's has stand out?
Before we get in on that, yeah. I just wanted to point something out about the bar itself.
Oh, right.
So,
I forgot.
We were gone.
Yeah, go ahead, Derek. That was, of course, we have a bar. I forgot about that. I'm such an idiot.
Yes. We have a bar that exists in an interdimensional, no man's land, and we take portals to get to it since we're all from around the country and other countries as well. So, we were gone for 4 months. I locked the kitchen door like I always do to make sure, the rats don't get in or anything. So we come back 4 months later. I unlock the door, and there's this weird, dog skeleton at the foot of the door, but it has, human fingers or something. I don't know what the hell this thing is. It must have crawled in through one of the portals while we were gone and gotten trapped in the kitchen. And it obviously died a very sad death because there were scratch marks on the door. And something, or I guess it wrote, "Help me" in the door, which is very sad. But the weird thing about it is that right before we left, I had made a bunch of food and I had left it out on the counter. And when I got in there, all the food was still there. There was only one tiny little experimental nibble taken out and nothing else.
Oh God, we did send our security home, right? Our Ewoks.
No, the Ewoks have been on staff this entire time. So
Oh, right, okay.
It's entirely possible that they got a hold of whatever broke in and killed it, and then just forgot to clean it up.
Yeah, that happens.
Maybe they left it to scare the shit out of Derek.
Yeah,
Like, on the one hand, it's really sad. On the other hand, I'm kind of insulted as well.
Oh God.
Why?
Because he didn't eat any of my food. He took one little bite and he chose to starve to death instead of eating anything.
You know we have advisories on the food that you claim to make, right?
Yes, but because of the legal disclaimer, we are allowed to call it food as long as we put that little asterisk at the end of the word.
Oh, God.
Yeah, we need to work on things
My brain hurts.
in the new
Yeah,
year.
brain.
In the new year, yeah, there's a lot of things we've got to work on, right? Especially when I forgot to set Derek up for his line. I'm so sorry. Got into it.
You skipped my cue.
Anyway, Trey. Okay, guys, where do you want to start?
I don't know.
What's jumping out to you guys? I'll begin. I think that the best thing since Empire Strikes Back in terms of Star Wars is Endor. I've really got into it. The feeling, the whole realpolitik, outlook of the show. Yeah, it's so well written. There's so many layers going on. Climb. Yes, I'm definitely all over Endor.
And the release was very appropriately timed for elections in the U.S.
Yes,
I thought. I mean, they could have shifted it a bit so that the finale would have aired a little closer to election day.
Right.
But I found that the whole last 4 or 5 episodes to be very, very appropriately timed, and considering that that season 2 isn't supposed to air until 2024, that cannot be intentional, or that has to be intentional.
Yeah, it's definitely on program.
Very much so.
One way out. Yes. Derek.
Yeah, I enjoyed Andor a lot. I think I have to give the edge to Obi-Wan just because it's more consequential to the larger franchise, because it was the rematch between Obi-Wan and Vader, so nothing can top that. But yeah, Andor was an exquisitely well-made show. It looked amazing. I mean, you could really tell that all that stuff was shot on location with huge sets and everything. It looked very realistic. It looked like a big, expensive movie. It had a great story. The surprisingly amazing character I didn't even know to expect was Luthian, played by Skarsgård. He was such a cool character and such an amazing performance. And, the speeches that he gave, or that very first time we see him going back to Coruscant, where he kind of has to practice in a mirror to be his cover identity again, the kind of self-loathing that you can see on his face when he's doing it. He was a brilliant character, and that speech that he gave about, I burned my future for a sunset I'll never see, that was an amazing speech and scene. And Mon Mothma also got a really interesting portrayal. I mean, she's always been in tie-in fiction, and she's always just been kind of there, not really that interesting a character. And they definitely made her into a three-dimensional, well-rounded, interesting character. And I can't wait to see where that story goes, because in all the later timeline fiction, she's just kind of on her own. We don't know anything about a husband or a daughter. So, obviously that's probably not going to end well for anyone. And I can't wait to see what happens with that.
Yeah, the only thing I'll say that I found disappointing, at least after I heard about it, is apparently that last speech of Fiona Shaw's was supposed to include "fuck the Empire."
Oh, really?
And they had to obviously had to cut it because family show and stuff. But come on, there are swear words in Star Wars that they could have put in there just to have that actually in the.
And to be fair, Endor is not really a kids show. people actually had sex in the show.
No, I mean,
What? Okay. It's the first time sex was depicted in Star Wars.
There's implied sex.
Yeah.
You don't actually see anything.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
You know?
Also, the first or the third episode is the first time the word shit has ever been said in Star Wars.
Yeah.
Well, no, because they usually say poodoo, which is Huttese for shit, or so I don't know if the writers just didn't bother to translate it to something else, or if that was like,
I'm sure they didn't notice because Tony Gilroy's not a big Star Wars guy, so
yeah.
He's a bit of an outsider.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and also
I just know there was a lot of pearl clutching when that happened. Like,
and speaking of Fiona Shaw's character, that was another great character and great performance. I know most people will just know her as Aunt Dursley from Harry Potter, but there was also this excellent BBC series called Killing Eve, starring Sandra Oh and Jodie Turner, I want to say. It's about assassins and stuff, and she kind of plays like the head of an intelligence agency or something, and she gives an amazing performance in that as well. That's very, very similar to the mother character here. I really wish we had seen more of her. I was very disappointed that she died off screen. I wanted to see her like go out in a suicide bombing or something, but yeah, that was another great character.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just think Andor, and there's been a lot of comparisons with the Expanse on Amazon Prime, because of the realism and the cutthroat politics, and yeah, that's my jam, as the kids like to say, right? They say that, right? Yeah, that's my jam. We don't really use that expression in Canada very much. That's a very American expression, so I'm using it.
You say that's my marmalade, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'll do that next time I'm at the bar and talking to someone. Yeah, there you go.
wow.
All right, it's still better than Derek's food. All right. Willow. I actually I'm enjoying it. I've saw the first 3 episodes. I like the fact that it's geared for the young fantasy genre, but there's so many double entendres and metaphors. The dialogue is quite witty, where they're speaking to 2 different audience members, the very young and people like me who are demented. Okay.
Who understand what the jokes are. I will say I've liked the show so far. The 3rd episode was a bit of a mess and a bit like rewatching Game of Thrones season 8 episode 3 for how dark it was, and as not dark as in the content was dark as in you could barely see what was going on.
Yeah.
Dark, but otherwise it's been fun so far. I love that they're keeping. I know that they had been trying to get Val Kilmer to come back, but I think because he's recovering from cancer, they couldn't. Yeah. And because of the pandemic, they couldn't. But I love that he's still there in spirit. And I guess if they do get a second season, they're trying to figure out how to bring Matt Madigan back.
Yeah, I think that will happen.
I'm
eventually.
absolutely loving Willow so far. I think it's a really great breath of fresh air, because we just had a bunch of very, dour and serious fantasy series in House of the Dragon and Lord of the Rings. And as much as I did love the Lord of the Rings series, which we can talk about in a second, Willow is just pure fun. It reminds me of shows like Star Trek Lower Decks, where it's just so much fun. Everything about it puts a smile on my face. The characters are fun. It's one of those great legacy sequels that is giving a fair share of screen time to the old characters while also introducing us to original, new, younger characters that are fun. And I'm actually enjoying the new characters a lot more than I thought I would. I think they're, legitimately fun and interesting and good performances. So I'm loving everything about it. It looks great. It looks like a movie. It hasn't had a ton of action so far, but, it's had lots of great location filming, and I'm really enjoying it. And I'm going to be very sad when it's over.
Without giving anything away, I called the Laura Dannon's reveal pretty much right away. I'm like, okay, it's one of 2 characters, and it's probably this one.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that reminds me. I spoiled myself on that, and I was so mad at myself because we were watching the first episode, and we were about 3/4 of the way through it. And I was like, okay, it's obviously going to be Enfys Nest. That's who Laura Dannon is, because she's a redhead, and the baby was a redhead. And so that's the big misdirect that, the princess's bodyguard is really the princess. And then so since I knew the answer, I logged on to Wikipedia to look at who the cast members were. And of course they had it spoiled on there. And I was like, no, I never would have guessed that.
Oh, wow.
Okay, I wasn't going to come out and say that wasn't that Erin Kellyman wasn't playing her though. So
well, I didn't say who it was. So
okay. That just leaves two other options, and I knew one of those options wasn't going to be her, but okay.
Yeah,
anyway, moving on.
This conversation's half baked as it is. Okay.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So I'm just personally, I'm waiting for that Andor Willow crossover. That'd be great.
Well, I mean, Warwick could probably show up in Andor at some point, I guess.
Yeah, there's that.
I think Warwick's already been on Endor. So maybe that would be an easier crossover.
Yeah, maybe. What else? Oh, guys, I've watched this thing that's on Disney Plus like 3 times in the last 2 weeks. I bought the music of it. The Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special. 44 minutes of fun. Have you guys caught that yet?
Oh, yeah, I loved it. It was hilarious.
It was hilarious. The only thing that's disappointing is like apparently Mark Hamill is not really in it.
Yeah.
Although there was some kerfuffle about one shot where it looked like it might have been him.
Right.
But if the whole idea sprung from James Gunn wanting to do something on par with like the Star Wars Holiday Special, but better, I wish they had gotten someone from Star Wars.
Yeah, it'd be 6 degrees of separation. The whole Kevin Bacon thing. Yes.
Yeah.
Actually, I think Kevin Bacon did a great job, and it was his real wife that phoned him on the phone, right? And when he was talking to it, he's actually talking to his real wife. And I forgot her name. Kira. Yeah, and
Kira Sedgwick.
Yeah. And to me, it's funny. It was Kevin Bacon. Like, can you think of 1 or 2 things he's been in? Everyone knows Kevin Bacon, but Tremors was a long time ago. Okay, and Footloose, and Friday the 13th Part 2. All the good ones.
Stir of Echoes.
I think he was in Animal House, right? He played a bit part in Animal House as a frat, like a bad frat boy.
I don't remember.
Maybe.
Maybe. So there's that.
I thought Mantis and Drax were so funny together. That was such like a great comedic duo. I especially liked. Most of the time she's very nice and sweet, but whenever she got angry and yelled at him, I just always thought that was the funniest thing in the world.
Oh, God, yeah. I definitely, I'm going to watch it again, maybe tonight. Okay. Before Christmas actually arrives. But there's not, it's not the only thing that Marvel has released in the last couple of months. She-Hulk, Attorney at Law. And as a lawyer, not a very good one, but still as a lawyer, I quite like She-Hulk.
It was so much fun. And go ahead.
No, go ahead, Carrie.
No, I don't know if the She-Hulk parody account has left Twitter because Twitter's become a hellscape and stuff. I very much like how the She-Hulk parody account was basically just trolling all the haters all the time. It's like and like the show itself all like pre-called all the stuff that the misogynists of the world were gonna shit on for her doing this and this. Well, you thought we were gonna do something else? No, we're actually gonna do this.
Yeah,
it was so much fun.
I love the fact
at the risk of sounding blindly positive about everything, I also really loved She-Hulk. I had a great time with it. It was a huge laugh. It was definitely my favorite of the Marvel TV shows this entire year. It was a really great time. The only complaint I had about it is I thought that the fourth wall breaking finale was too fourth wall breaking because it kind of broke the story and the plot, because it kind of calls into question, well, what actually happened in the reality of the MCU in this show? And I don't know.
Except she's done that in her comics too.
Yeah, so. I know. I've read the comics, but like within the context of the MCU, where we're supposed to care about whether characters live or die or whatever, it's like what actually happened in the finale? Did she really, break the walls of reality and go and talk to Kevin Feige to change her story? I don't know, because how does that work when Kang comes calling in a few movies down the road.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
But aside from that, I love the show. It was so funny. I wished it had been like a 22 episode a year season. I was so mad when it was over. They need to do more episodes of this kind of thing.
Yeah, it was.
Oh, that was the other thing the parody account kept getting shoved. Like they were like, oh no, Daredevil's gonna show up in the next episode. Oh no, Daredevil's gonna show up next episode. And when he finally showed up, it's like I was like, you know what, they should just not let him show up at all. But you know, that would have been too much of a troll.
Yeah. She-Hulk was certainly a smash hit. And
yes.
Yes. I actually like the fourth walls being torn down because it's poking fun at the MCU while being part of the MCU, and I love that. And the fact that you have a professional young woman who basically does what she wants. It was great. And the fact that she wants to be a lawyer, attorney, she wants to do her job. This superhero business, well, that's just getting in the way of everything. She's going to die alone now. Because who wants to be next to someone who's so powerful? It was just trust issues. Maybe that's season 2.
I don't know what that's like at all.
I'm also still waiting for them to announce the Wong and Madison spin-off series.
Oh god,
that'd be great.
Yeah.
Or have She-Hulk and Deadpool on screen together, just breaking the fourth wall all over the place.
Give it time. There's also Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. You hear that?
Yay!
What did you guys make of it?
That was so good. Yeah. It was sad, but it was good.
Yeah.
Here's where I become the contrarian finally.
Yes.
I did not like the movie. It was very well made and all that, but it was just too real world for me. Like, it was first of all, it was like 3 hours long. Second of all, it was an entire movie about the tragic real-life passing of someone from cancer in real life, and that just made it not an enjoyable experience for me. The entire thing was like a funeral for someone who died in real life. And then the movie is now starring a very vocal anti-vaxxer, anti-trans person who never apologized for those things. And to make her the hero of the story, I mean, just like everything about that movie just rubbed me the wrong way. I thought Ironheart was great, but everything else, I don't know, it was just tough for me to sit through.
That's fair. I thought it was very well done. I like the fact that they address colonization and the negative aspects of colonization. I love the fact that it poses the questions of what would happen to these indigenous populations if there wasn't colonization, if they could develop on their own, and would it be a more just society? I think these are interesting questions to ask. In terms of the go ahead.
No. You were finish your thought.
Yeah, just in terms of the lead actor doing that. Yeah, I'm not a fan, but it goes back to the age-old debate: is can you separate the art from the artist? And I think the Marvel Studios.
She did apologize for the anti-trans. I think she did apologize for the anti-trans stuff, though.
Yeah. I think I don't know as much as I should, and quite frankly, I think she's been a lot less vocal since this entire incident happened. But yeah,
since the Marvel lawyers had a word with her, you mean?
Yeah, but this is everyone screws up, right? So there's that as well, right? Maybe she wasn't aware of how not just controversial, but how harmful her speech was. We'll see. Yeah,
maybe.
Yeah.
I also didn't like her character arc within the movie either, because she was a fun character in Black Panther 1, and in this one, I mean, she's angry, she wants to burn the world down, and
she's grieving.
I know, but just I don't know, the entire experience was just unpleasant, except for Ironheart, who was golden, and I can't wait for a TV show, and Namor was a cool villain as well.
Yeah.
I think the issue. I think part of the issue is there's no wrong way to grieve. Well, there can be if it becomes destructive to the planet, I guess. But she was going. We saw her going through the stages of grief, and she was very angry at the world for letting her brother die from something she couldn't fix. So, and I get that was something that they had to work around, a real life thing that happened, but watching everyone in the movie process that was very fascinating, very very timely, and I really liked it. And then having one group of colonized people kind of subtly trying to put blame on the other one was like, oh, well, we're going to stay in the shadows and do our thing, but we're going to expose you guys for doing stuff because you guys have decided to be more public about your about yourselves than we are. And I thought that was just like, I don't think that would act. I'm not sure if that would act. I think that would maybe working together would be better, but playing one against the other would.
Yeah, one aspect of
interesting.
Yeah, one aspect of Wakanda Forever actually, like, and this is a common theme that's is being seen in the MCU now, is the role of the United States government. How there's aspects of the United States government that really is thinking more like along the lines of the 19th century rather than the 21st century in its history.
Yeah.
I know many Americans don't like to use the word imperialism, but in many ways there's similar traits in American history to the rise of imperialism and empire building, and I can see that.
Yeah. Well, and it's not on the list, but Black Adam I thought was a very fascinating take on how a great power sees a conflict happening somewhere in the world that is like third tier country or something, and decides to go and mess with things and just makes everything worse. So if the Justice Society is like the placeholder for the U.S. government, and it sees Black Adam waking up and hurting people that they don't realize are bad guys in I forget the name of the country in Kondak. They're not worried about Intergang oppressing Kondak. They're just worried about Black Adam taking out the oppressors, and then they come in and just make the whole thing worse. And I was like, yeah, that doesn't happen at all. Yes, it does.
Yeah,
it's all the time.
And it's good because it makes us think about these issues. That's what art's supposed to do, right? It makes us think from an intellectual level and from an emotional level, and it helps define who we are as humanities, right? In humanity, right? That's what the humanities do. Love it. Let's move on. Let me just take a little quick nap here. Oh, I mean, no, okay, I'm up now. So The Sandman. I know it's been out for a while now, but what do you guys think? Neil Gaiman?
We did a whole episode on The Sandman.
Yeah, it's amazing. Definitely good. Got renewed for season 2.
Renewed for season 2.
Yeah, which is huge.
Yes.
Yep.
And since we recorded the Act 3 of the audio drama dropped, and it is also fabulous. So I would check that out.
Definitely.
With James McAvoy as Morpheus and Neil Gaiman narrating most.
Does that cover the entire run of the comic books, or?
I think they're 2 volumes from the end. So there's no word on Sandman Act 4 yet. But if they're trying to finish the whole thing, they've got one more act to go.
Yeah. What else? Oh, we mentioned this already, but the whole Lord of the Rings, the Rings of what is it? Rings of Fire? Was it
Rings of Power?
Rings of Power.
There's Rings of Fire is a Pacific Hawaiian thing. Yeah, don't worry about it. That's where my headspace has been. Okay.
Well, I was thinking Johnny Cash.
Yeah, there's that. I love that. Anything Lord of the Rings is good. Lord of the Rings. There's that, and of course we have Game of Thrones, House of Dragons, which we talked about before.
House of the Dragon, yeah.
What else? What else?
Lord of the Rings. I'm a huge Lord of the Rings fan. I've read that book more than anything else in my life. So getting to see the Second Age directly portrayed on film was a very magical experience. I mean, it's not as magical as the movies of the original trilogy itself. The characters are not, as interesting. The story isn't as big thus far, but it was a very interesting beginning, and it was very cool to see things like Numenor, which is basically a stand-in for Atlantis, and I was always fascinated by that in the backstory, and seeing the mines of Moria in their heyday when people are actually living in them and they're bright and happy. It was great to see those things, and the mystery of who is Sauron, who is the stranger who fell out of the sky. those were very intriguing threads to go through the whole season. Galadriel was a really cool lead character. I did enjoy her. I do kind of wish that it had a little bit more of a sense of humor, but that's part and parcel for the actual mythology of Tolkien, though, because obviously the hobbits are funny and silly and everything, but the humans and the elves are usually very dour, serious Shakespearean characters. So it was definitely true to the source material, but it wasn't as much fun to watch. But like I said, it was still a magical experience for me. I can't wait for season 2.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I without giving anything away, I lost the Sauron pool.
Oh well.
I'm not entirely sure if I've lost the Gandalf pool yet, but I'm
Yeah.
I have thoughts that I will wait on until we actually get more concrete information.
That's fair.
Which will probably be 2 years from now.
Yeah.
All right.
And House of the Dragon,
yeah.
I enjoyed it, but as it went along, I kind of lost interest with it. So, I mean, it was good, but it didn't really have me on the edge of my seat the whole way through. I was kind of waiting for a war or more action to kick off. And, it kind of just kept getting put off and off and off. So I'm sure season 2 will be cool. But it was good. But, of all the fantasy series that came out this year, that would be the bottom for me.
I loved House of the Dragon. The only thing I have an issue with is for a show called House of the Dragon in an age where there are more dragons in Westeros. There weren't enough dragons on screen. But
yeah,
I realized
many dragons. Yeah.
I realized there's probably some CGI budget that they had to deal with, but still, like, there aren't enough dragons.
Yeah, with the House of Dragons, the thing is, like, I don't like any of these characters. There's no one who's morally good per se. It's all various degrees of gray, and the ultimate game, of course, is power and stability. And so for me, I'm interested in the story, but if all these characters die horrible deaths, I'm still gonna go to sleep that night and sleep through the night. So for the most part.
Yeah, and I could not keep track of all those various children for the life of me. I had never had any idea who was who there.
Yeah.
Yeah, my only comment has been for all the people kind of sort of being okay with all of the incest in House of the Dragon. Like, I was there going, the Mayfair Witches series is coming out next year, and if you want to talk about a family whose tree doesn't branch, that's actually even worse.
Yeah. Yeah. I just don't want to think about it. Okay.
I don't want to think about it either, but I mean, for all the the whole Daemon Rhaenyra relationship is actually almost healthier than most of the other relationships in the show. It's also kind of icky because it is her uncle.
Yeah.
So it's just like, but again, not as bad as the Mayfair Witches, where your father is also your great grandfather.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, because that's also the thing that happens.
Mm-hmm.
That's by Anne Rice, right?
Yep.
Did anybody watch Interview with a Vampire?
It was so good.
You mean the one with Tom Cruise
so
from
good.
the 90s or 80s?
No, there's a new AMC series that came out this year.
Okay. It's on my to-do list.
I watched the first episode and I didn't like all the changes they made. Like, is it set in modern day now or something like that, or the 1900s?
No. They moved the stuff in the past up from the 1700s to the 1910s, which actually works, especially if they make Louis with them making Louis a person of color, and then they moved the more. They didn't actually move the more modern time stuff they moved the when Louis is telling the tale to 2022, and they're implying that the pandemic made it a good excuse for him to do the interview. But this is actually a restart of the interview, so they actually started in the 80s, and he was doing the interview originally in the book, but then they decided to, something or other, they got into an argument and they went there. He and Daniel went their separate ways, and then 40 years later, they're like, with the pandemic happening, Louis like, You know what? Let's revisit this. I've done some soul searching. I wanted to tell my story now.
I bet they couldn't agree on a recording time.
That was part of it, but there's an implication that they're drawing from more of the books instead of just from interview. Now that that part of the story is taking place in 2022. So if you've read more than just Interview with the Vampire, there are some nuggets that are like, oh, they're talking about that now. Okay. But otherwise it's actually very, very faithful to the original source material and the original novel. And they've only gotten halfway through the book so far.
I read the original 5 Lestat books.
I've read up through Prince Lestat. I need to read the last 2, but I'm not ready.
I read that I saw on the title list that there's one where he goes to Atlantis, and I'm a sucker for Atlantis. I was like, oh man, I got to read that one at least.
Yeah, I need to read that one, and there's one last one, and then there's the last of the Ramses, the Damned novels that she and her son co-wrote, and I'm just not ready for that all to be over because the third Ramses, the Damned book was her last novel.
So you're not ready to stick your neck out just yet?
Ready. No, I'm just not ready. I'm just not ready to read what is actually her last.
Yeah,
her last
that's right. Yeah.
Book ever.
I've been trying to think of like vampire jokes and little bites of here and there. I know they don't suck. Okay.
They don't suck.
All right. Yeah. Oh.
Well, Interview with the Vampire does not suck. I recommend it.
Okay. Good. Hey.
Speaking of vampires, we could talk about Werewolf by Night.
Oh, right.
Marvel.
That's
special.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely like the special Marvel presentations, and I'm all over that whole Halloween thing. I had a good Halloween, so despite the fact that I was working my butt off. Yeah.
I thought that was a really cool, atmospheric little story. I really want to see more of those characters. I thought it was awesome that they had Man-Thing in it, because I know him from the comic books. I don't know Werewolf by Night at all from the comic books. It was a very cool, stylish visual thing. I love the whole retro black and white look. It was everything about it was great.
I know there was some dust up about why Blade wasn't in it, and then as soon as they all gathered in the room at the beginning of the special and explained what was going on, like, well, of course Blade's not going to be in that. He's a monster.
Yeah.
By their definition.
Yeah.
So of course we're not going to see Mahershala Ali in the Werewolf by Night special. It's not going to happen.
Nice. Hey, have you seen this Netflix series Wednesday from the Addams Family?
It's so good. I love it.
I haven't seen it yet. I know there's a dance scene. I saw the clip in the dance scene.
I mean, I'm pretty much guaranteed to love anything Tim Burton does. So, and he directed and he's an executive producer, and he directed the first 2 episodes, and it's so good. It's so much fun.
Oh wow!
I wish that the rest of the family was in it more, but yeah, it was a good show. It was cute.
I really hope we to see Cousin It next season if they renew it.
Yeah. It's on my to-do list. Hopefully, I'll catch it before the next couple of weeks. But another show that's on Apple TV, which I quite like, is Mythic Quest. And so season 3 is dropping. The first couple episodes are out. Really big on that because I like my comedy and it's about the video game industry. And yeah, definitely go watch that.
I still need to resubscribe, but I'm really looking forward to seeing the new episodes of that. That is a fun show.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it yet.
What else? Okay, so we kind of covered the last couple of months, but there's a few big movies that's coming out. Namely, one from next week. I think I don't know, Derek. I think you know something about this one.
I am extremely excited for Avatar 2. I am a diehard Avatar 1 fan. I think it's the highest-grossing movie of all time for a reason, and I think people need to respect that. Respect James Cameron. I think this movie is gonna do a shit ton of money, and it's gonna be amazing. The trailers look so cool because, the first movie itself was, I admit it's not an original story. It's a paint-by-number story, and that's fine. But the visuals are so incredible. And the second one, with all the underwater footage and the sea creatures, is going to be absolutely amazing and blow everything in the first one away. And at Disney World, the Flight of Passage ride of Avatar, they go to the ocean and they show like creatures briefly, and it's the best part of the ride. So actually going underwater in the ocean is going to be so cool. And all the advanced reviews I've heard for it have actually been glowing. They've actually said, it had, good characters, good story, good emotion. So I think it's going to be a winner on every level. Oh, and also, it's going to be in the high frame rate like they filmed the Hobbit movies in. So if you saw the Hobbit movies in the theater at the high frame rate, it looks completely different. It's 3D, but it's crystal sharp. And that was such an amazing visual experience. So I am just so excited for that movie on so many levels.
I'm kind of looking forward to the sequel to Ferngully. I mean, Avatar: The Last. No, Avatar. Pocahontas. No, Atlantis. No. I'm looking forward to it. I'm not sure if I'm going to go see it next week, but I will definitely try to get to see it at some point.
And be sure to see it in high frame rate, because you won't be able to see that at home ever. So like this is, your only chance to see it that way.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm really looking forward to the next one, Dungeons and Dragons, because I love the original Dungeons and Dragons movie. I know it's been like universally panned, but it was so much fun. It's like there are places in that movie where if you have done tabletop gaming, you're like, oh yeah, that's a character. That's where all the players decide they need to figure out what is actually going on, and stuff like that. It's fun, and I think that I hope that they're going to do something similar with this movie.
Yeah,
I actually just rewatched the 2000 movie.
Oh yeah. Oh god. Yeah. So
it's got Tom Baker. It's got Riff Raff from Rocky Horror in it.
Oh wow.
It's got Jeremy Irons eating scenery.
Yeah.
I just checked. This Dungeons and Dragons new movie is coming out in March of 2023.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's
the
it's
trailer
coming
looks really fun.
Yeah, and I just fun fantasy movie. Why not? I'm all for that. And of course, we got a new trailer that dropped last week. My really old and great franchise that I love dearly is Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. That looks quite interesting as a story, plot line.
Yeah, to be followed.
I'm
by
really
Indiana
hopeful
Jones
this is a really solid ending.
Yeah, at least with Harrison Ford. I think once Harrison passes, I think there's going to be several years where we get no content, and then we'll get more Indiana Jones content somehow, because I love the feel for this franchise, despite the fact that I'm not a particularly big fan of the Crystal Skulls film, but the first three outstanding in my opinion.
It was okay.
Yeah.
They have said that Disney Plus is developing an Indiana Jones television series. They haven't said if it's live action or animated. I hope it's animated and it's set during like the 30s fighting Nazis and stuff.
Yeah. So.
And maybe draws from the Young Indiana Jones series and not overwrites it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not that anyone remembers that show at this point.
Hey, I remember it. I just haven't seen most of it.
And I think most of it's actually on YouTube. You can watch individual episodes, if I recall right. At least it was like that, like 2 years ago. It was really good. What other content? I think that's what I can come up with with this stage of my brain being on ice. What else?
I think Shazam 2 comes out in March as well.
Okay.
And that looks like it's going to be fun.
Cool. Yeah, I've been like off the grid, so I'm just thinking of anything else.
Oh, and Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania is going to be out in March, I think.
Okay.
I think that's February, like Valentine's Day. But I'm very excited for that. Our first real appearance of Kang the Conqueror. That's going to be amazing.
Mm-hmm.
The first appearance of Kang as Kang the Conqueror, and not He Who Remains or whatever.
Yeah. I think that's good. I think we'll be recording again soon, and we need to do an episode on Avatar. Can we do that, guys? In the next couple of weeks?
I think we can manage that.
Sure.
Yeah, okay. That'll be a cool episode topic, and I'm all for that. So hopefully we get to do that. Also, once Renner Graham, our friend of the show, Dr. Renner Graham, professor of law, and my PhD supervisor, because I always have to say this, if he gets any free time, we need to get him on to talk about his book, Nether Regions. And he's also going to the Star Trek cruise in late February. And I've been trying to find a way to get down on the cruise myself. I don't think that's going to happen, but Star Trek. Oh, I can't wait for a new Star Trek. I'm sure that's coming down the pipe.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, speaking of Star Trek, Lower
yeah.
Decks Season 3 came out, and I absolutely loved it. Hilarious as always. And Star Trek Prodigy Season 1 is currently airing, and I'm enjoying this second half of the first season a lot more than the first one because they're actually, I guess they're kind of like they're in the Alpha Quadrant now, so they're actually interacting with Starfleet
I think they're
characters.
more in the. I think they're more in the Beta Quadrant at the moment because like they're like on the border between the Alpha. They're in the neutral zone.
Well, my point is they're not in like some vaguely defined made up area where we never see anyone we know. Like they're actually in continuity now, and I'm really enjoying this season. I know it's kind of for kids, but this second half has been a great improvement.
Oh, it's for kids, but it's so not, and it's so much fun. And you gotta wonder seeing where the Protostar crew is coming from and where they ended up, how far into the Delta Quadrant Voyager got flung when that series started, because they were really out in the boonies.
Yeah. Wow. Picard Season 3. They released some stills of that recently with Worf, right?
Yeah.
And the trailer.
Yes.
Yeah, and they're saying it's going to be like almost like a follow-up to Deep Space Nine. Is that an accurate statement?
Well, they said that it's going to like follow up on threads from Deep Space Nine and Voyager in addition to Next Generation. I'm sure it's going to be, 90% TNG, 5% DS9, 5% Voyager, but we'll see.
Well, I mean, we're getting the crew back together again, so yeah.
It's going to be awesome.
I can't wait for that. All right, guys.
And Moriarty.
Oh God, yes. We should close our doors. It's been an hour.
Yeah, we should.
Yeah, and this has been great. There's so much stuff, so much content out there I need to catch up on, which I am slowly. And there's that. So regarding this show, it's available on most podcast platforms and on YouTube. Subscribe today for listening, engagement, and announcements. Follow us on Twitter. Yeah, we're still on Twitter. We don't really use Twitter all that much. We're still trying to figure out what's happening with this whole Twitter business.
Dying.
Yeah, but I don't think there's another platform that's as reliable yet with the major companies on it yet. Give it time. But you can always send us an email. Yes, we still have email. Our email address is management@scifipubcast.space, and we love hearing from our listeners. Carrie, what's your Twitter address?
Yes, my Twitter handle is Carrie Blackfire42. That's KERI Blackfire42. And I do occasionally doom scroll through the wasteland that is now Twitter, but I'm not very active there.
What other podcasts are you doing?
I'm on DC Talk, which is a DC Comics television and movie news and discussion show. I'm on Cape Chronicles and Enter the Dojo, all of which are actually kind of on hiatus at the moment because of various host availability things. But yeah.
And these shows
hopefully in the new year.
Cool. And these shows are on the Random Chatter Network, right?
All on the Random Chatter Network.
Excellent. Derek, what's your Twitter address?
I am at Derek J. Beebe, and my website is derekbeebe.com.
Excellent. Check out his website. I know Derek does a lot of creative writing, and he loves talking about writing. With me, I'm still on Twitter. I haven't done much besides that. Nothing's published because I've been busy writing term papers. But my Twitter address is at Joel, Joel _Welch, WELCH. It's closing time. Take care, and please make it home safely. We'll see you next time. Bye now.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Music provided courtesy of Logan Rathbone. Podcast logo by Jea Rhee. Copyrighted Joe Welch. Listen responsibly, and we can't wait for your next visit to our fine establishment. Cheers.